done is a helicopter ride, and I didn't enjoy it at all. I didn't enjoy it.
I didn't mind it. I don't,
Ever.
Really?
Terrible fear of heights.
you know,
Done is a helicopter ride, and I
There we go, we're live.
Yeah, we're live.
Are we all done? Ready? Okay. It's the Board of Standards and Appeals Public.
Is your mic on, Tony?
Oh, thank you, Tracy. This is the Board of Standards and Appeals Public Hearing for August 7th, 2023. We'll begin with the zoning calendar, continued hearing items, 2021 50 BZ, 50 Lawrence Avenue, Brooklyn.
right, I think, who do we have here?
This is,
Mr. Friedman.
should be Lynn.
I think we just have one.
Oh, we just have Lynn.
Just have Lynn. Let her know because I don't have her on my thing. Okay, thank you. No,
There we go. Okay,
hi, how are
We have
you?
both.
how are you? It's a
Good.
pleasure to
Raise
meet
your hands.
you.
You have to raise your right hands. I gotta swear you in. Thank you. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board to respond honestly to board member questions?
Yes, we do.
Okay, please
I
state your
do.
name and proceed.
Okay, so we attended the executive session this morning. There's nothing much to say. We just have to wait for DEP. I really thank the board for its patience, but it's the outside agency. I believe it's only some paper, or, I mean, we answered everything they want. We went back and forth a number of times. Tracy, you can correct me if I'm wrong. It's not really much, but we just gotta wait.
Yeah, we just have to wait. I mean, we haven't heard back. We asked if we might get a sign off by tomorrow, but we haven't heard back, so.
With the fading with them.
Okay,
The visuals, not that.
let's,
Never mind. No, I was just saying the visual, there's a shade, but I think it's the lighting. Okay,
I see, okay.
correct.
Let's go to the, I really don't have any comments. I think this is as being stated by everybody, it's really up to DEP to provide. We're waiting for that sign off. Let's go to the public.
Okay, the case that we're currently discussing is 2021 50 BZ, 50 Lawrence Avenue, Brooklyn. Should you wish to discuss, call in. You have the screen. While phone is 646-46558-8656. You will enter the webinar ID number. Oh, see, I have something different. 827-5583-9838. Press the pound and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign only. You will press the pound sign,
No, it is.
press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute if you're calling in on the phone in order to speak. And if you're in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your screen.
Okay.
See, this number is wrong. It's different here. It's here.
Ms. Benke, do you know how long it would take for, I mean, when was this submitted?
The last round was recently.
Okay.
But we are hoping, since they've been reviewed, yeah, it was last week. I know they've seen it a few times, so I'm not sure. It could be tomorrow, it could be if they have more comments coming, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, this noise is one of the elements of the finding of the special permit, so we need as I'm looking at,
Can't close.
yeah, finding C, separation from noise, traffic, and adverse effect on surrounding a residential district, and then so when it's,
Ms. Prenger has a hand up.
yes, Ms. Prenger.
There was some discussion of maybe we would do a second call for tomorrow. For this, in case it did come in.
So you think it may be imminent? We-
We're
I'm-
not sure. We were waiting for some sort of indication, but.
Okay, so I am open to the idea of putting this on for a second call. We were told to put this for today, so that's why it's been scheduled for Monday. But I'm okay to put it on for second call. Are commissioners okay with it? Everybody's nodding in agreement.
Okay, so
So
you want to
if-
do second call
we-
after the regular calendar?
Yeah, we will second call it after the regular calendar. So this will give everybody plenty of time to get a feedback from DEP regarding noise.
Tuesday?
Tomorrow.
Okay, good.
That's what I'm saying, tomorrow, Tuesday, at the end of the hearing, the entire list of
Okay.
calendar.
Second.
Yeah, good idea, Ms. Prenga. So this
Okay,
would be for August 8th, end of the hearing.
Thank you so much.
all right.
Okay,
Okay, see you tomorrow.
see you tomorrow.
Take care. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Okay, special order calendar, continued hearing items, 29557 BZ, 14615 Union Turnpike.
All right, this would be Mr. Dale.
Todd's not there, but is it there? Why isn't it showing up on my thing? that He's there.
Who?
No, I'm saying it doesn't show up on my thing. He's there. Okay,
Hi, good.
raise your hand, raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do affirm.
Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Todd Dale for the applicant. I did listen to this morning's review session, and it seemed as if there were three primary points of discussion raised by the board. I'll start with what I believe is the simplest one, is with respect to the revised sign analysis and plans. There was a discrepancy between the sign analysis forms and the tables that were on the plans. The tables on the plans are accurate. This was flagged for us by Mr. Bell, the project manager, and revised plans and sign analyses were submitted near the end of last week. I'm not sure if they made it in time for the board to review, but that was addressed to correct the sign analysis forms to match the tables on the plans.
Oh, okay. I have to apologize. With 45 cases, I may not have gotten around to see if any revision was submitted. Did Commissioner see any late submission on this?
Here now, it's on, it was submitted 8/4.
8/4, it was submitted? Okay,
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
hold on. I'm gonna open it up and see if I can locate it.
You didn't check all 45 cases?
I did not receive,
day?
yeah, no, I failed this time.
Mr. Bell's hand is up. Project
Yes,
manager?
Yes, they were submitted late Friday, Chair.
yeah, okay, yeah, I see it now. I see it.
You put your hand down.
Okay. All right, yeah. And this is matching with the sign analysis. So both are consistent, okay?
So that was issue number one, and there'll be additional time if there's any other questions that are raised. The next was respect to, and I was just hoping to get a little clarity. The project engineer did listen on, and we emailed just briefly about it. We can provide additional clarity in an upcoming submission, but with respect to the drainage, just want to note, as was noted in the engineer's letter, is that there's been no observed issues with drainage. There's never been complaints from the community board. I would also note that there's no car wash at this site, which is often a source of, typical board review and concern for that. In the letter, the project engineer tried to note that there was a dry well attached to the canopy, and it appeared to handle all of, whatever happens with respect to stormwater. Did note that there weren't any specific storm drains that they noticed at the site. I guess my questions for this is that, we want to provide whatever information we can to the board to assure the board and to address this issue. Just wanted to get a little bit more clarity. because this site has been in existence, I think the date on this is from the 50s. This is a site that's been here forever, and there's never been any drainage issues, and it appears the existing drywall handles this. I just wasn't sure what additional information we could provide or assurances we could provide to the board to address this issue. And I just, as I said, I just want to emphasize that, confirm there are no car washes at this site. So it's not what I would say a excessive generator of water that would be draining to surrounding uses.
So, as Commissioner Yoon pointed out, there are regulations that basically requires a property owner to ensure that the stormwater runoff is on the site is contained within the site. And it's not running off to the sidewalks and onto the streets. So I understand that there isn't any car wash and there has not been an issue of drainage. So, and it's not really within the purview of the scope of this, but it just needs to comply with all the underlying regulations of whether that is DOB, fire department. I'm not sure which authority kind of has oversight on that part, but it should be complying with that. We are not waiving it. And I think this is just something I'm flagging. I think it was flagged by Commissioner Shetta, who is not here, who could have explained it more, but the purpose of this is to ensure that you are containing whatever runoff you may have, whether it's rain runoff or anything, not from the car wash, is being contained within the site and not being a nuisance to the neighbors. So that's all.
I understand that's totally reasonable. And if the board, were satisfied in other respects and we're prepared to grant the application, we'd be agreeable to any condition with respect to, agency regulations.
Vice Chair Shibata.
Yeah, and I think that the only issue with the engineer's letter was probably that the terminology, because even the EPA will call dry well another term for a storm, like for stormwater drains. So I think it's probably just a terminology issue.
Okay.
Just to add to that, it's a strange thing for an engineer, whether they're civil or architectural or structural, to say drainage isn't a problem, but there are no drains. It's a strange thing to assert on a official document that's submitted. You understand what I mean? So of course it raises questions that, again, are not part of our direct jurisdiction, but shouldn't you then investigate how it's working? Now that it's brought up, it's hard to
Dismiss it, yeah.
dismiss it. But I don't know what's appropriate for us to ask for here.
Yeah, I think we just need the assurance that you're meeting all the standards and requirements of all other applicable city agencies oversight. And that's really, and I think our conditions and our notes should indicate that clearly.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Just a thought, Mr. Dale, as you're aware, I'm sure you're aware, most commercial uses that use water have something called a backflow prevention device that is heavily regulated by the department, by DEP, I believe. Assuming that this site has a backflow prevention device because it might use water, there might be a drain on site. It might be a good starting place to find out if there's a backflow prevention device for any use of water on this site. If there's water on this site, where does it drain? I would start with the backflow prevention device.
Understood. I would suggest then, just leave it at this, is that we've heard this. I know the project engineer is listening into the hearing for other applications. We'll provide additional clarity and a follow-up letter. And then in addition to that letter, above and beyond, we'd agree with whatever condition the board has about meeting other agency requirements, just so the board's assured and you don't need to all become engineers like Commissioner Shetta.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, great. And then the final was with respect to additional site photographs. We were waiting hopefully to provide all the photographs in one set. There were really, I think, 3 key items that were raised. Just so the board knows, merchandise has been removed from outside. We were told by the operator. And I think the last time somebody from our office drove by, it was removed and the graffiti was taken care of. There is one issue, and I would like to discuss it with the board and get some feedback and some initial thoughts so we can get some direction going forward. There was, as noted, a pods storage container at the site. Per the operator, this is not a situation where that pods container is used as part of a secondary business for moving. I don't know if the board's aware with pods, but I guess there's trailers that could be picked up and dropped off as part of a moving system. This is not a situation where there's a second business or a second commercial use, such as like a U-Haul. That is actually a storage trailer that's used by the operator to store like waters and sodas and extra merchandise that they can't fit within the convenience store. And the operator says that because of the limited space and the fact that this is a very old building that's been around for many decades, that they're hopeful to continue some type of additional storage use. And that they just use this pods container themselves and they rent this pods container because that's the most cost-effective means for their business to store, you know, their extra water and soda and snacks. You know, it's not refrigerated, it's not perishable items that are in there. So, you know, I know that was raised as concern by the board, understandably not to have a secondary use as often comes up with like, U-Haul situations, but this is a situation that even though it says pods on the outside, it's really used exclusively for the, accessory store. So with that put forth, the operator asked if there was any possibility that the board would consider allowing a trailer there of the size that they have right now to continue if it's just used for additional merchandise storage. It doesn't interfere. There's still plenty of parking spaces. This is a large enough site where there's maneuverability to get in and out to the gas pumps. And it just allows them to continue effective use of the building without having to worry about a potential building enlargement for additional storage.
I'd ask the board to consider this in light of the fact that this is a pre-61 lot and whether the implication of space on the zoning lot, enclosed space on the zoning lot devoted for activities of the zoning lot to which the premises is a benefit of a variance implicates an increase in floor area.
Yeah. It's an enlargement.
Yeah. Just by having the presence of the pod itself.
And we've had cases like this in the past where that was the very discussion that.
Right, and I think we did have that, and I thought DOB considered these as temporary structures and not as a structure that accounts towards floor area. So
Because it has no foundation.
that's kind of what I seem to remember. This was brought up with many of similar such facilities.
100 temporary or not, I believe 120 square feet is at the point at which Department of Buildings requires a permit for a shed. But either way, that's separate and apart from whether a pre-61 lot is entitled to increased storage space and whether that increases permissibly or not increases the floor area of the variance.
Can you clarify the 120 square foot and above where DOB requires?
But under admin code, a permit for a shed is not required when it is under certain height or size. But when it exceeds 120 square feet, a permit's required, or if it exceeds, I believe, don't quote me, 8.5 feet tall or something, a permit's required.
Right, this came up with some of our car wash issues.
But whether a permit is required doesn't mean whether or not it's floor area.
Right.
And storage space devoted to the non-conforming use on this site is floor area.
I think. Has this building enlarged since 1961?
I would need to go back, but I don't believe so. I'm double checking the resolutions here again.
Yeah, anyway, you need to kind of address that as part of the general. I'm trying to see if you did respond to that as part of 11.
I would want to go back again. This is, just to refresh the board's memory, this is a case where another applicant had filed it. We came in after that initial filing, so I would want to double check the history, but I take under advisement what or council has raised and what this discussion is. I appreciate the discussion, and we would need to review whether there's been an enlargement and whether this floor area would necessitate a different type of application, or if it would even be allowed as a pre-61. And this is something that we would have to discuss with the operator. So I would say, in short, we don't necessarily want to go through it today and waste the board's time, but we understand what the issue is and how we'll have to address it. And then the operator can decide whether that removal of the pod structure is the most efficient, or whether they want to see if there's an option for some type of amendment if it's permitted.
Right. I mean, that seems like a pretty big storage space for you to store merchandise. I mean, that's a huge volume of things being stored, food related, that is not refrigerated. So.
Yeah, no, I understand. I don't believe it's filled and packed to the gills. I think it's just additional area, but I will.
And I think if it is not filled or packed and not being fully utilized, why not try to optimize the current area within the building footprint to locate it than create this issue?
I have been to the building, and I will tell you that I believe that they have optimized the footprint as best they can. But I will take that under advisement, but it's not a situation. There's not a lot of wasted space within the convenience store, is what I can say. So I do understand what's there. So noted. I think I appreciate the discussion, and I think we'll just have to go back and discuss it with my leaning towards removal of the storage if at all possible.
Okay.
And it's my understanding those were the three primary questions. So, it seems that the plans and analysis we believe have been addressed. We can provide supplemental information regarding the drainage and agree to a condition as needed. And then we'll really just have to address the storage issue. And in conjunction with that, providing the site photographs about those primary issues that were raised all in one single package for ease of review.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Dale? If not, then let's go to the public.
Okay, the case that we're currently discussing is 295-57BZ, 14615 Union Turnpike, Queens. Should you wish to discuss, please dial in 646-558-8656. You will enter the webinar ID number 827-5583-9838 and the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you will press *9 to raise your hand. Oops, sorry, the clock. *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute to be able to speak on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your screen. Once you are recognized, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
How much time will you need to make,
I would say we can be flexible with the board's calendar. I think the primary issue is the bin and the resolution of this. I think that will take, I would ask for a minimum of 3 weeks to submit, but we can again push that out further and be flexible with the board's calendar.
well, we don't have any hearing until September 18th, I believe,
1819.
18th, 19th.
Submission day would be August 31st.
August 31st is the submission date.
Perhaps the one after that might be better. I'd rather have a little buffer time. So that we can
I
make-
would suggest, I mean, this is for all the listeners. September is pretty booked up. So I think anything, whatever we have, will start going into October 2nd and follow up. So I think October 2nd and 3rd is a good choice, Mr. Dale.
That submission day would be the 14th of September.
I'm fine either doing the first, or if there's a second one in October even, we're fine with that if that helps ease the board's scheduling.
Okay.
Because I think that I'd rather the next submission be the final one.
Okay, all right. We will get back to you whether it's the 1st or the 2nd of the October hearings,
Yeah,
Great.
right? Okay,
absolutely.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next, no, there were no callers. New cases, item number, sorry, item number 25, 241-72 BZ, 132, 136 East 37th Street, and 281, 287 Lexington Avenue, Manhattan.
I think we will have Mr.
Fred Becker.
Yeah. I don't know if he has anyone else.
There's an Aubrey Filbert. Is Miss Filbert, sorry, I clicked on her. I shouldn't have done that.
Mr.
Yes.
Becker
Is
is,
Miss Filbert one of your team?
Yes, he's the building manager.
Okay,
So good morning.
wait, no, Mr. Becker,
Is there anyone else from your team?
No, that's it.
just
That's
Mr.
it.
Filbert. Okay, so could you please unmute Mr. Filbert? Thank you. Please raise your hands, right hands. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
Yes,
Please state your name for the record and proceed to address the board's comments.
sorry. Good afternoon, Frederick A. Becker, the applicant in this matter. We listened to your executive session. We understand the concerns. I would first like to clarify, this is clearly an arcade under section 37-80 as set forth in our papers. It is not a POPs space. It is not subject to POPs regulations about seating or activities or lighting, etc. That being said, we are very cognizant and are trying and will present additional information that will address the concerns of the chair, the vice chair, Commissioner Yoon, and Commissioner Otley Brown concerning the appearance and activities that will occur within this space. I'd first like to say the adjacent building, the SSMA, the Soldiers Sailors Club, while the original plans did show an area that was dedicated to them, I'm informed that this space was never used by them. In fact, there is no indication of any access that was created by the SSMA. Furthermore, the SSMA is no longer in existence and has not been occupying that space for several years. The space, in fact, is an empty vacant building that has been on the market for upwards of 3 to 5 years. So that their use of the space never occurred, was discontinued, and there's no one to use it. That's the bottom line.
I see. It wasn't clear from the statement whether they are still in operation or not. So they're no longer operating from this community facility?
Absolutely, yes. I thought I had mentioned that, but my apologies if it wasn't clear. Okay, no, actually I did mention that. But nonetheless, so what we're looking at here is space that has been underutilized, has been problematic, and for which we are looking to amend section 3780, which requires that an arcade have 24-hour access. I know that the chair mentioned that, to look at the Harmony atrium, which I am quite familiar with going to Lincoln Center on a regular basis. That atrium is quite distinct from this one. It is a 3 to 4 story space. It extends from Broadway to Columbus. It's probably upwards of 1,000 square feet of interior space. We have a 12-foot space. If we put a climbing wall after one step, they'd bump their heads.
That's why I said for children.
Well, they'd have to be really small children. And our space that's the multi-purpose in the back is only around 10 by 25 or so, 12 with 4 columns in the middle of it. Nonetheless,
so, Mr. Becker, I just want to say, yes, you're absolutely right. The Harmony atrium is distinctive from this current site, but be that as it may, the fact that the same measures that you're proposing for this site, which is even more underserved than Harmony, and the fact that it didn't do well in Harmony is what I was trying to connect.
No, I understand the chair, absolutely. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just, okay, so let me go through what we have and what we've done and what we are willing to do to get this. In no particular order, the doors that lead from the residential building into the arcade space are all egress doors. They're emergency egress doors. They are not utilized for entrance into the building. There is the one door that goes into the medical office space on the right side of, or the southerly side of the space. That has a buzzer system. Even if we were to be able to put a fence up, to, you know, in the evening hours, they would have a similar buzzer system to allow access into that space.
Which doorway? I'm sorry, can you
Okay,
just,
if you look at, let me get the plans. If you look at the page P-2,
mm-hmm,
there, I believe it is immediately the farthest right stairwell adjacent to the gray line, the gray wall, that goes to the upper floors.
so the one with the elevators?
Actually, the one with the elevators, yes, goes into
So
the,
that's the community facility. Is that the
That-
main entrance?
that is the only entrance.
Well, I think that then I mean, this is what Commissioner Yoon was referring to, is that if that is the main entrance to the community facility, I think, you will do a great service to those who will be arriving at the community facility space, to make the space interesting and use that as a way to design your arcade and improve the, and make the approachway more inviting and accessible.
So
and Yeah.
with regard to that, and I'm sorry if I cut you off, we are, what we gave you was an illustrative plan. We added additional lighting years ago. We're going to add more lighting. We will provide you with a ceiling lighting plan, similar to like a sprinkler alarm plan that will show you additional lighting. We have already discussed painting the floors, painting the ceilings, painting the walls to make it a more inviting appeal rather than the gray dullness that it is. We have discussed and are going back to provide additional revisions and specifications on the gates that would face 47th Street, as well as the low-rise gates that would be on on Lexington Avenue, that would be on 37th Street. We don't want a prison-like effect, whether we use a plexiglass or a glass or something that is more decorative, we will provide you with those details. We have installed security cameras already in place. We have been monitoring them, which is how we know of most of the unfortunate activities that have occurred at the space. The idea of putting a security guard is cost prohibitive, unfortunately. We will show additional landscaping. We will show seating. Again, this is it's for illustrative purposes, but we want to make the space usable. We've spoken with the local community board. We've spoken with the Stravinsky Conservatory, who have, one of whom sits on our board, to encourage and create programs in that multi-purpose space, so people will actively use the space and have a reason to come into this space. And on that basis, I think we may have addressed your concerns, and put forth that in order to do all of these things, we do need a limited hour with a locked facility. And I hope I've addressed the issues, but I can address anything further that I may have missed.
So I think you have two elements that may help you this time around. One is, as you point out, you have the community facility space. The other thing is that you said the SSMA facility is empty currently and you're looking for occupants. I don't quite recall if there are any requirements that it has to be only community facility space, or if you could use ground floor commercial use or anything like that. The reason I'm saying that, if you are permitted that flexibility, I don't know if it might be worth it for you to provide some commercial activity, cafe or something like that, or even provide a daycare facility if you can find a tenant that would activate that space and can directly access that arcade space to use it as and when. So this, by having more eyes and ears and activities on the space, A, you deter the possibility of misuse, B, it brings it to the awareness of all the passersby, something is happening, maybe I can go in there. And having these programming spaces much closer to where the pedestrians are moving. What you're proposing all the way back there on 37th Street is not visible from 37th Street. And from where I'm quite familiar with the site. So if I'm walking along Lexington, it is too far out there. Unless it's really lit and inviting and exciting, I'm going to miss it completely. So
If I may, the SSMA building, it's a separate building. It's I believe a
I thought it's part
5-story.
of the zoning lot.
No, it is, but it's a separate building. It's owned by a separate entity.
Ah.
They have 5-story. It was originally the Soldier Sailors Marine Airmen's Club. It was a place where they could congregate, and it had sleeping accommodations on the upper floors. So we have zero control over that building. And as I say, they had been looking to sell that building because their attorney, who is another land use attorney, I've been in touch with, and they have not been able to sell it for upwards of 5 years or more. So I appreciate the thoughts, but that can't be part of our picture. However, relocating the uses within this space is an excellent idea, and Mr. Philibert and the others will certainly take that into account to put perhaps the multi-purpose space, towards the front so people can see or hear music going on, or can see aerobics or Tai Chi or lectures or anything else that will invite them into this space, as opposed to being 100 feet back.
Yeah. And I think if you're proposing these programs, it would be helpful if you can put together a list of entities that you have reached out to or you're going to work with. There are a lot of community-based organizations that are looking for program spaces. Who is going to manage it, maintain it? That it has to be, I'm assuming there's a co-op board. This is not going to be run by them. Like you have to farm it out to another entity that manages programs and something like that.
Again, most POPs, certainly open POPs, don't have, ongoing activities with the program, and we will make it available. We've reached out to several entities. I can give you a list of those entities. I can't give you necessarily a list of programming, during the operating. I will tell you who we've addressed, and the community has been very involved. We've had 2 community boards meetings on this. As you know, they supported this. So we have a lot of people who are involved in this application, and will be watching us.
And Ms. Chairperson, I would just like to also comment that the chair of the St. Barton's Park Conservatory, he also sits on our board, which is comprised of residential board members in this co-op. His name is Kevin O'Keefe, and also Michael Ann Rowe. She is the chair of the Green Clean Society, which is within Murray Hill. So we've been actively engaging with those individuals to have some of the programming that the St. Barton's Park Conservatory already has, but various locations. We want the programming to be located in that POP space. Also this co-op, it's comprised of 2 buildings. There's a building on 36th Street and the building that we're referencing on 37th Street. That is not the entrance to the residential co-op. There's only one entrance to the residential co-op. There are professional spaces on the 2nd floor of that building that would need access. So it's not a main entrance for the residential building. And to your comment,
sorry, you raised a good point, and I don't want to cut you off. Just hold on. I just want to share my thoughts. In your drawings, do indicate this for Mr. Becker. In your drawings, indicate which are the entrances and exits, and primary entrance for community facility or primary entrance for residential, which I'm told it is not, but do indicate that, because that will also help us understand how you're programming the space and how that is enabling the movement of people through the facility, also through the arcade. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Philibert.
Debbie Falco.
Yes, and I just wanted to paint a clear picture of our intentions. Our intentions are really to engage the community, which is why we have prominent community organizers on the residential board to help us make decisions. Even the chairperson of Community Board 6, she's an architect by trade, so she is actively providing feedback and advice. As Attorney Becker mentioned, the space is limited, not only in size, but there are an extreme number of columns. And so the reason why we had that open space in the back is that is the area that has the least columns and it's the most open for staging. And so we would have speaking events, engage the children, and from really a horticultural perspective. Even the idea of a hydronic growing.
Chronic kind of garden. Oh, interesting.
It's just we're limited with natural light. There are a lot of ideas, and we really want to have something that pops. And when you walk by, you know, as you mentioned, you're attracted to walk in.
Yeah. Okay. These are, I think, as you heard from the board, we really recognize the difficulty of making this space look inviting, and it's coming up with creative solutions that would make it work. I think hydroponic is an interesting one. It requires, you don't need natural light. You can use a lot of the artificial lights and with minimal water kind of farming. I think if you can tie this up with some local school or nursery or something like that, that would just make it very interesting. Please, I mean, activate portions of it and then the rest will kind of get activated. I'm not saying utilize the entire space for one programming, but if you can, these multiple, some specific programming, some for everybody, some for, then you kind of do away with the issue. I think you can work towards that issue.
And the last point is that this is a residential co-op. It's, you know, we're not a developer with, you know, with a bankroll. We're undergoing a gas replacement project under local law 152, which I'm sure you're familiar with, facade work and so on and so forth. And what the board is would like to do is have a multi-phased project from a funding perspective. And so phase one is what we're discussing, and phase two, we're going to blow everyone's mind on this board. It just takes some time to implement.
Well, if you are proposing a multi-phase project, that is something also the board needs to know how the project is going to be phased out. And we need to be assured that these would be completed in certain time frame and not just one part of the phase and then never come to fruition. So you need to ensure us that you have the financial commitment and the backing. And
I think I'll discuss this more with Mr. Philibert in terms of the multi-phase. But I think the main part is we're looking, if the board allows us to close the space, most importantly, we're looking to beautify the space, to construct the space, and then once it's constructed, to implement all of the issues. I would also like to say that since this is not a POPs space, but is an arcade, that if the board can consider that the seating, which is really the only POPs issue per se, other than the hours, be of somewhat of illustrative purposes so that we can move things around. I don't want us to, you know, say we're showing 5 tables and 20 seats, and then suddenly, you know, some inspector comes by and says, oh, there are 24 seats and you're not in compliance. So if the board can consider that, it would be appreciated.
I think at this point, it's very difficult, as you can gather from the comments and from what you're sharing, you have to come back again with some ideas and concepts and design. But I hear what you're saying, and depending upon how it's being laid out, we can discuss that. I'm open to that suggestion.
No,
yeah.
we clearly understand that the board needs a much more detailed, specific plan of what is going to be proposed, colors, lighting, any architectural elements, etc. And that is very appropriate. And we've been working with a designer and an architect for several years on this. So it's not something that hasn't been contemplated. It just was, you know, as we move along.
So I'm glad to hear that you are working with an architect. So do ask the architect to listen to our comments And we do want to see some renderings. Black and white
Yes.
really doesn't do justice to these kind of spaces. And just to kind of give you an idea of the extent of the drawings and information that we had asked, there was a previous application we had granted that was also a plaza pop space. That was a pop space. That was I think it was also granted through a variance. It was a 60s application on 3rd Avenue and 68th Street, I think. We can give you the information, and that was granted by the board, and it also required extensive redesign of the space to make this above grade pop space an attractive space for somebody to walk in from the street level. Here, at least a portion of this is at street level in your case. That one, everything was not on, nothing was on street level. You had to climb the stairs. So you really had to make it attractive from every step of the way, literally and figuratively, to get to the pop space for public to use it. So I think that will give you an idea of the extent of the information. Of course, they had the opportunity to provide a lot of greening. Here, I don't think that's realistic. But I think some of the ideas that you've thrown are interesting ones. So, but you have to tie it with some programming, some commitment, and I recognize it's a co-op board, so you need to make sure that there's going to be a long-term commitment to do this. So, okay. Any other questions or comments for?
I had one question is, who's operating the opening and the closing of the space?
The residential staff, the co-op staff.
Okay. All right, that could just be, I guess, clarified in your next submission.
Yeah.
And how it will operate. And if
Yeah.
there's, yeah, anyway, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think Commissioner Yoon raised a good point. You should also clarify who is operating the space, managing the space. And that would be helpful. I mean, is it being outsourced or is it just the building staff that is doing that? Those things.
Do you want
And
an
the security.
operational plan,
Hmm?
Madam Chair, or just a statement?
I think statement should be good enough.
Okay.
And specify whether or not that's security of residential staff or not.
Yeah.
Considering the statements that were made in this statements of fact about
I'm sorry, can you clarify that?
whether or not the residential staff that's going to be opening and closing the location are security type because of the statements made with regard to the safety of the location.
Are there any questions? If not, I'll go to the public. Okay, let's open this up to public.
Okay, the case that we're currently discussing is 241-72 BZ, 136 East 37th Street and 287 Lexington Avenue, Manhattan. If you wish to discuss, please dial in 646-558, sorry, 558-8656. You will enter the Zoom webinar ID number is 827-5583-9838. And the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will enter the webinar ID number. I'm sorry, you will enter the pound sign only. At the next prompt, you will press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute to be able to speak on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already and wish to discuss, please raise your Zoom hand. Once you are permitted in, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss your issues.
Mr. Becker, how long do you think it will take you to provide follow-up?
We would like to provide materials sometime in early October. I understand your hearings are the 2nd and maybe the 16th. I would
No.
look for a November hearing, the first November hearing.
Okay, November.
November 14th, 15th, and the submission date would be October 26th. Is that
What would be, what would be the hearing before that, if I may ask?
October 30, 31, and the submission would be October 12th.
Let me just see something. Hold on. October 30, 31. Sorry, just looking at a calendar.
14, 15 is a special hearing. We don't have a case.
I could do October 30. That would be fine. So what submission on 10/14?
10/12.
10/12. And 10:30 is the hearing.
10:30,
Correct.
30, depends on which way do we put you on. Either one.
Well, right, one of those 2 days, that would be fine.
Okay.
Okay.
And if you can have the architect be present at the next hearing, that would be helpful.
Okay, we can actually, we have a landscape designer or a designer who may be even more appropriate for you than the architect, because the architect is, well, you can have both, but I'm just saying we have an actual design consultant who's doing
That's
the
the person.
details.
That's the person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. Nice seeing
and
you
thank,
and happy
thank you very
summer.
much. Okay,
Take
thank
care.
you, bye-bye.
We are approaching 1 o'clock, so let's take a, 30, 40, 30-minute lunch break. And we will resume at 1:30.
Okay.
I'm rounding it off to 1 o'clock, so 1:30.
Okay.
By 3 minutes. You can chew a lot in 3 minutes.
You can chew a lot, is that what you said? Sure.
I can't hear you. Tony, I can't hear you.
Okay, good afternoon. We're back on the record for the Board of Standards and Appeals public hearing for August 7th, 2023. Can you hear me? Okay, next
Yes.
item is calendar number 42681BZ, 2329 Story Avenue, the Bronx.
I think this would be Mr. Goldstein.
Jay Goldstein,
How are you? Good afternoon.
sorry. Raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I affirm.
Okay, please restate your name for the record and respond to the board's comments.
Good afternoon, Jay Goldstein for the applicant. There's background noise or echoing. I don't know if I'm the only one who hears it. Okay, I attended the review session and I heard the board's comments. Commissioner Chair Shanda, with regard to the photographs for the for sale on the building. That's actually how the owner of the premises figured out that there was this BSA restriction. They were trying to sell the building because it's not used, and this goes to the hours of operation. It's not used as an actual, the hub for the main activity of the contractor's establishment. So you won't have people coming in and out with materials and things like that. And that's also why it'll operate only from 9 to 5, because it's more of the office and smaller, storage and less frequently operated as a depot for materials. But that's how they noticed that it was restricted by the BSA. They were initially thinking to sell it. At this point, they are not selling it. They're operating out of it, and they'd like to operate legally. Whether or not they sell in the future, they'd like to clear up their C of O issues so that they have a proper building, legal use, and they can go from there. With regard to the street tree, so the street tree was actually listed as a condition, and I note that Ms. Prenga mentioned this in the notice of comments, that the plans that were approved didn't actually show a street tree. But if you look at the photographs that were submitted, there's a street tree on the city property, which is there and which is going to remain. There was no actual street tree on our property. So the condition is proposed to remain the same, where the street tree on the city property will remain, and will continue to keep the premises the way it was. And then, as mentioned, this goes to, I think, Commissioner Yoon, there aren't really trucks coming in and out. The early risers for the contractors will not be at the property, so you don't have that fear of them coming and going. This is more for the back office staff to operate and run the company. So the 9 to 5 does work in this location. I think, and with regard to the new objection sheet, we filed for a new objection sheet to mention that the proposed use is contrary to the BSA application. As soon as we have it in hand, we'll submit it to the board.
So the street tree was a condition
Right,
and it was not shown in the prior approved plan.
correct. I believe the street tree referenced was a street tree that's on the city property. Because you don't see it on the plans.
Because I picked it up from the resolution and I'm trying to.
I don't disagree with you. It was mentioned in the NOC as well, because we all kind of scratched our head and said that the plans don't show it.
It is on the city street tree then.
It is on the city street tree. Okay,
You can see it in view number 1 and number 2 of the photographs that were edited.
okay. And it has non-combustible material. I mean,
No.
that's your,
I'm fine with that condition. We sent photos of the interior. It's not the purpose of this application, and we're fine with that condition.
okay. So, and your client is maintaining that street tree?
Yeah, there's no,
Understand?
it's been there, they've been in the space since I think 2012 or 2016. They haven't taken it down. They'll maintain it where it is. It's not ours to take down, I don't believe.
Okay,
Actually,
it's Parks is maintaining it? Okay.
I'm just gonna share screen for a second. There is a wonderful New York City Parks City Street Tree map, which demonstrates that this 2329 Story Avenue has appears to be city maintained street tree, given the nature that there was a work order created and a parks contractor completed it.
Okay,
Yeah, we're not proposing to touch it, so.
okay. So the only change that you're seeking is the use and the signage,
Correct.
sign size.
Sign size complies with the C1 district, I believe.
Right, yeah, okay. I don't have any questions. I'm satisfied with the information provided is to.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all the commissioners are okay. Let's go to the public.
Okay. The case we are currently discussing is 42681 BZ 2329 Story Avenue. Should you wish to discuss, please dial in 646-558-8656. You will enter the webinar ID number 827-5583-9838 and the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will enter the pound sign only. Once you are permitted in, you will press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute to be able to speak if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already, you can raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand on the bottom of your screen. Once you're permitted in, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
So you, can you revise, provide a revised CO? Like, sorry, DOB objection?
Yeah, I'm gonna provide that. That would be the only outstanding, I believe the only outstanding item for this, but we'll provide it as soon as it's available. So we'll take a lengthier, adjournment just in case, or just to give DOB time.
Okay. How long does that take?
It really depends with every case. I don't know why, but it can go from anywhere from a day turnaround to weeks. So I would, I know the board's heavy in September, so I can take October or November just to give us, make sure that we're done with it.
Let's then shoot for end of October, just to give everybody a lot of time.
Okay.
I want to make a recommendation to close. Motion to close?
Chair Shonda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you very much. And just, we're leaving the record open for me to submit the objection, just to clarify.
Yes, yes, of course.
Okay, with no, I don't believe there's
Yeah.
anything else the board wanted for me on this one.
no
Yeah.
revised plans or anything?
No, there wasn't anything revised plan. We'll put a condition about, no combustible material. And the signage, I think the note, you already have a note saying to comply with the C1 and DOB to review and approve.
Correct.
And Mr. Goldstein, Community Board?
Yeah, I don't think we have a community board yet.
Yes, with the community board executive.
Oh, no,
committee
that was okay.
approved it. Yeah,
No, that
Was
was
the
the executive. We're
executive.
still waiting for
The
the.
final, right? Yeah.
they're not, the executive was the final. They're not gonna have a meeting on this.
They
there's
sent us
wait-
a letter.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
The letter
Did get
from-
something.
Yeah, from the executive, yeah.
this was done, the executive committee met last summer already. They didn't want to have another meeting on it. They were happy with it because there've been no complaints about the site ever.
I think the vice chair meant that oftentimes when the executive committee is so okay with it that the main board doesn't want to meet, we get a letter from the community board saying that they don't want to hold a meeting on it.
They're not,
Nice.
yeah.
I can reach out and I can have, and I'll ask that maybe if you want to double check, have staff reach out. But this was about a year ago and they told me that when I followed up now, because there was an error with the original finding where we changed it from from a BZ to SOC.
Right.
We followed up again with them and they were fine with it again.
We need an email, or at least an
And-
email.
there's nothing
Right,
else.
and you have, this was a question that Commissioner Sheta had, you haven't heard any complaints, I guess the community board has not heard any complaints from the
Right.
neighbors.
And there have been no DOB or ECB violations ever on the property as well. So we've been good neighbors and we endeavor to continue to be good neighbors.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay,
Mark.
thank you very much.
71328 BZ, 425 Vanderbilt Avenue, Staten Island. Mr. Gupta's, or Nazir? Oh, it's only Mr. Gupta?
Yes.
Okay. The Waka, sorry, Gupta. Okay, raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
Yes.
Okay, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Diwakar Gupta for the applicant Nazir J. Kanzada. I listened to the review session this morning.
Mhm.
We do not have the community board recommendation yet. We haven't presented yet, but we're planning to present in September. And we'll submit a copy of the presentation materials and the recommendation report as soon as we have it. The TPPN 1099 compliance will add to the plans and will clarify in the statement of facts and findings those calculations as well. Same for the VR 11-412. We'll add it to the plans and we'll make it more clear in the facts and findings. But both of where the convenience store and the expansion are both in compliant with those two. We'll add handicap parking. So we'll turn the parking space in front of the store into a handicap parking space. And we'll add a striped, that's the one that's closest to the convenience store entrance. And we'll add a striped walkway between the parking space and the entrance. We're proposing 24 hours of operation for both the gas station and the convenience store. And we'll add details to the planting bed, details about the landscaping to the plans. So the depth of the planting bed and exactly what plants will be installed. And we'll show where the drains are on the site, on the plans.
You know, something I completely overlooked is the trash enclosure. Where is the trash enclosure being proposed? This is a convenience store, so you're going to get a lot more goodies for the rats.
It's going to be indoors. It's on the left side of the building.
Can you point me to the plans? I'm looking at the plan.
Page 8. Page 8, the proposed floor plan. It's on the upper left corner of the building.
Ah, I see. Okay. So trash will be stored there. Okay. I have a question. How does one get into that storage space behind the coolers?
It's going to be like a push-in space. So in the one of the coolers, you can there's going to be you can push past it to enter the storage space in the back.
Wow, a secret chamber. Okay. Yeah, I looked at it and said, Okay, I just want to let the board know, if you recognize this site, you'll remember there's a site across the street that the board had approved for a variance for a home, and I think it's captured in one of the photos. Yeah. Okay, I think this is the proposal that your client is making is definitely going to be an improvement to what the site condition is. So any other questions or comments? Okay, any other questions, comments? None. Let's then go to the public.
Okay. The case that we're currently discussing is 71328 BZ, 425 Vanderbilt Avenue, Staten Island.
Second,
You get it?
we are getting a little bit outdoor noise.
It's all right, it's quiet now. Should keep that door closed, I think.
All right,
Thank you, Commissioner.
thank you.
Okay, the case that we're currently discussing is 713-28 BZ, 425 Vanderbilt Avenue, Staten Island. Should you wish to discuss, dial 646-558-8656. You will enter the webinar ID number as 827-5583-9838 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you will press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute to be able to speak if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already and wish to discuss, raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are all permitted in, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
Okay.
Oops, I can't. go to the next
So the corrections that you need to make is to the plan. This is adding the calculations of the TPPN and the zoning resolution section 11-412.
Hmm.
Anything else that I missed?
We're also need to submit the community board recommendation.
Right, yes.
That's gonna be in September, or I think they'll meet in September and we'll present in September.
You have already presented or?
We have not presented yet.
Okay,
We have not.
you have not presented yet, so it's scheduled for September hearing?
Yes, I have to confirm the scheduling, but they usually meet in the first week of September.
Okay. Okay, so
I don't see anybody with hands, no call-ins.
okay, so I would suggest that we push this out to end of October. This way it will give the chance for the community to review, make its recommendation, and then you can make the submissions. I don't want to close this for one reason, because I do think the community board will have some comments and questions on this one. I don't know why I have that suspicion. And if that affects anything with the plan changes or anything, I want to give us the opportunity to deliberate and review it and make those changes. So I would say October hearing. If you have a scheduled date of the hearing and then we can try to put it for the early part of October. Otherwise, I'll schedule it for the second part of October.
Second part of October should be fine.
Okay, all right.
That'd be October 30th,
Yeah, October.
30/31 with the submission date of October 12th.
Yeah.
Diwakar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Should we move on?
Yes, please.
Continuation of new cases, 89785 BZ, 1415 Madison Avenue, Manhattan. This is Hillary Ascot. Asrat, sorry. Hi.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yourself? Are you by yourself?
Huh?
I am, yes.
Okay, raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's questions. Comments. Sorry.
Within this.
Hillary Abstract Hamburg from Venable. Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. We attended this morning's review session and we appreciate the board's support of this important application for the community. I wanted to run through the questions and comments that we heard. First, regarding the community board approval. The community board approval was conditioned upon Mount Sinai's continued good faith efforts to be a committed neighbor. I spoke with Brad Beckstrom, who is the Director of Government Relations for Mount Sinai during our break, and he continued to support this condition and stated that Mount Sinai will absolutely continue to work with its local community and CB11. And they are committed to doing this with regard to providing quality healthcare, improving health outcomes, participating in local events, hiring of local residents, supporting local businesses by purchasing goods and services locally, and enhancing oncology services in the community, which is one of the reasons that this request is being made to the board. To specifically address the comments raised by Commissioner Sheta in terms of first the sky exposure plane. The sky exposure plane penetration will be from a height of 109 feet through 116 feet. And this information is included in the statement of findings for a special permit, but we're happy to include that in the statement of facts as well. Additionally, in terms of the increase in lot coverage, we are happy to include the percentages of the breakdown. The total lot coverage is included on page 7 of the statement of facts. And on the plans, we note that this is a 0.4% increase in lot coverage, but happy to provide the bullet point breakdown for each area as well. And lastly, we certainly understand that the BSA is not reviewing any of the structural components and would be quite comfortable with the BSA adding that as a condition as needed.
Yeah, sure. I have to say, this is quite a complicated application, and your team did a very good job of putting this complex set of information in a very succinct way. And also diagrammatically, it was very easy to follow, and the narrative went along very well with it. So I was very happy with the entire package, and very it was informative and very thorough, as all our board members have stated.
Thank you, Chair. We really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board members? Okay. Fire department.
No?
Do we have anything from the fire department?
John? Deputy Chief Daley, do you have any comments?
I know the department has no comment. We have, as a matter of fact, I had witnessed testing of all the suppression system at the hospital, and we're quite happy. And so we have no objection to this application.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to the public.
Okay, the case that we're currently discussing is 89785BZ 1450 Madison Avenue. Should you wish to discuss, dial 646-558-8656, and you will enter the Zoom webinar ID number 827-5583-9838 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you will press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute to be able to speak if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already and wish to speak, raise your hand. It's a small hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are permitted in, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
How long will it take for you to make these corrections?
We could make them this afternoon and have them in tomorrow. It's a quick turnaround. I know we are still awaiting the final review of the environmental documents, specifically of the phase 1, but that has been submitted, and we have the one change to the EAS noise section already ready to go and submit that as well. So again, we can submit the requested changes quite quickly, and to the extent it would be possible to be heard in September, Mount Sinai would certainly appreciate that.
I'm going to do my best, but I'm not going to promise. As you heard me earlier, I mean, our September calendar is absolutely packed. But we recognize the importance of this institution, and this particular improvement would be to the betterment of the community and the health. So we'll do our best. I would like to target for September, but if not, the first week of October, definitely.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Good seeing you.
You as well. Thanks, everybody.
Let's let's do one thing. Can we close this? Because I don't think that we have any issues with the findings. It's only cleaning up the documents. And the phase one, anything that comes up, the phase one, those could be conditions that can be added to the drawings and can be part of our resolution.
Just
Okay.
the special.
Because it's not related to the findings of the special permit.
Okay,
Yeah, I think you could.
okay. So, I'm gonna make a motion.
Yeah, make a motion to close.
Chair Shanda,
Sorry. Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good afternoon.
You too.
2017-217 BZ, 4855 Highland Boulevard, Staten Island. So I think this is Alexia, right? Alexia.
Okay. Alexia Landesman. Is she in?
Yeah, she's in.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I see her.
You want to mute?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
Okay.
Good afternoon, commissioners. We have attended the executive session. It appears that the only outstanding comments were you requested a timeline of the construction, and just a clarification. We are looking for a 4-year term, and so we'll just submit a cover letter highlighting that as well as a timeline. That's all. And if that's everything, we were hoping to close today, if possible.
Okay. All right. Any questions or comments?
Public.
Let's go to the public.
So the case we're currently discussing is 2017-217 BZ, 4855 Highland Boulevard, Staten Island. Should you wish to discuss, dial in 646-558-8656. You will enter webinar ID number 827-5583-9838 and the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will enter the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you will press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute to be able to speak if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already and wish to raise your Zoom hand, please use the one that is in the bottom, the little hand that is in the bottom of your computer screen. Once you're permitted in, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
Okay. Again, I'm not going to promise a September. October is very definitely likely. But we can close.
Wait till we finish. Ooh. Gets me every time to the. You want to make a motion to close?
Yes, motion to close.
Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Okay, application is closed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. 2018-21 BZ, 1773 East 22nd Street, Brooklyn.
This will be Lyra Altman.
Sarah Altman.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
Of course.
Please state your name for the record and respond to the board's comments.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Lyra Altman from the Law Office of Lyra Altman. I did attend your executive session earlier today and heard your comments. I've also spoken with the contractor on the job and the homeowner since the time of the review session. First of all, I want to confirm that Council Vine was correct This was filed with DOB, this was approved, but permits have not been pulled. And of course, we're not able to pull permits right now because we don't have a valid BSA until this is extended. With respect to an extended timeline, as I said, I already spoke with the contractor. By the end of today, I will have a more detailed timeline for your board explaining the 3 years being requested. And I believe those were all the comments.
And also the status.
The status, as I said, is that the application was filed at DOB, it was approved at DOB. Mr. Vine is correct.
So include that also in your submission.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Any questions or comments? Let's go to the public then.
Okay, the case we were discussing is 2018-21 BZ 1773 East 22nd Street, Brooklyn. Should you wish to discuss, dial 646-558-8656. At the prompt, you will enter the webinar ID number 827-5583-9838. Sorry, start this. And the pound sign. At the next prompt, after that, you will press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you will press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute, to be able to speak on, if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of the screen. Once you're permitted to, once you are recognized, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
How long will it take for you to make these corrections?
I've been informed that I will have the timeline by the end of the day today. And I can, of course, add the information regarding the permits to the statement today as well. So as soon as your board is ready, we can be ready.
We'll try September, but October is more likely, early October.
Understood.
Okay.
Would it be possible to close the hearing today?
Yes, we can close it.
Just have to wait.
But we'll do it again early October.
Appreciate that.
Okay. Make motion to close.
Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Appeals calendar, continued hearing items, item number, 2018-188A and 2018-189A, 194-28 and 194-32 Dunton Avenue, Queens. This is Ms. Atlantisman.
Yeah. I'm not able to find the plan.
Hello again.
Please state your name for the record and proceed.
My name is Alexia Landisman on behalf of the applicant. We have attended the executive session. We've only received the DOT comments last week, and so the architect is working to revise the site plan so we can remove all of the comments and just get the sign off. As of right now, that's the only update we have. This case was just waiting on sign off from DOT, so we're just working on that. I believe the architect should be able to submit it by the end of the week, and so depending on when they review that, hopefully we should get sign off soon. But I would like to push the next hearing to, October, so we have ample time for them to respond, because they've taken some time to review documents in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I will move this even to the second part of October, just to make sure you have enough time.
Right.
I mean, it'll only take you like a week to make these corrections.
Right. So the site plan, so there was issues with the site plan because the architect has changed, and so the new architect had to redo the whole thing. So, and I believe that they're still reviewing our building pavement plan, sorry. And so we haven't even received final comments from that yet.
When do you think you'll be receiving that?
Tony, can you chime in on that?
Did you file it at DOB?
What is it?
You filed it at DOB?
We filed it with the DOB, yes.
Yeah, because that was a question.
Filed it a while ago, actually. I submitted it to you and we filed.
Yeah, but you saw the DOB, the
Yeah.
email from building,
DOT. Yeah, so they're still reviewing it. So it's really, at this point, we're waiting. But we do want to close this and we are working we just received the comments and the architect's working on them right away. We started working on them right away.
Do you think November would give plenty of time? Okay, let's do end of October, and if we
October,
think,
end of
if we're not
October.
going to get in, we will push it to November then.
That works. Well, I'll
Just to-
follow up with Tony to see if they've responded and we'll stay on top of them and we'll figure it out accordingly. But thank you for the cooperation. Obviously, we want to close this as well.
Yeah,
Clients, you know.
it's been one of the longest running games. Now you're going for the record.
Go big or go home, right?
Yeah. Okay, all right.
I'm gonna keep.
Any other questions or comments? Let's go to the public.
Okay. The case we are currently discussing is 2018-188A and 2018-189A, 194-28 and 194-32 Dunton Avenue, Queens. Should you wish to discuss, dial 646-558-8656. At the prompt, you will enter the webinar ID number 827-5583-9838, plus the pound sign. At the next prompt after that, you will press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you will press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute, to be able to speak on, if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand. Once you're permitted in or recognized, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss your application, the application.
I don't think we have anything else to discuss. We've stated end of October or November. And you'll keep us posted as to how you're proceeding so that we can schedule it accordingly.
Everything that's going to be, all our correspondence with DOT, I will CC Tony on it, just so we're all on the same page as far as responses. But yes, absolutely.
Yep, please do. So until we have that, we cannot close, so it has to remain open. Okay. Well, thank you.
Have a great day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. 2022-28A through 2022-30A, 1517-19 Bedell Street, Staten Island.
This is
Victoria?
Mr. Ronald Victoria and Linda Victoria.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Weird. They're still in the room. For some reason. On in. Mr. Vittorio? There he is. His hand is raised. Wasn't being there. Why is not in?
Oh, I don't see. Oh, I see Ronald Victoria.
Can you
I
unmute?
guess
Mr.
he's the only
Vittorio?
person then.
Oh, you can click him in. I can't get that. Oh, there he is. Why is he unmute, Mr. Vittorio? No,
And it's
still
only
can't hear
Mr.
you.
Victoria, not Linda.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Okay, are you by yourself, Mr. Vittorio?
I am, yes, I am by myself.
Okay, please state your name for the record and address the board's comments, please.
Ronald Victoria, registered architect. I thank you. I was in attendance at this morning's hearings and will address the items that were raised by the Madam Chair and the commissioners. First, I wanted to give a clarification on the C1-1 overlay zone and the as of right permission to build semi-attached and attached housing at the time prior to the change of the section, I think on 10/27/2005. In the zoning regulations under bulk regulations, Prior to the zoning change, these units were looked at and governed by the commercial rules. Section 34-23 modified yard requirements. 34-231 reduced the front yard. You didn't have to provide a front yard. And the bulk regulations under 34-111 allowed you to build in accordance with R32 zoning, even if the district was within R3X, because you were within a C11, a C1-1 district. I will clarify this and follow up and put that
That
in.
would be
submission.
helpful.
Do you want the zoning sections, or would you want a copy of the zoning? The zoning set, the extracts.
Yeah,
from-
because my understanding is in commercial district, if you do build residential uses, it kind of goes, I mean, it refers you back to the Article 2 for most of it, and this is not in any special district or anything that would, it became part of special district later on, isn't it? South Richmond Special District.
That's correct.
Yeah, but even that would have much more stringent requirement than what the underlying is. So that's why I'm kind of a little bit baffled by the fact that this was approved, but do provide that information. That would be helpful.
Okay. Further clarification, I believe, Madam Chair, you brought up a non-clarity of the date on the approved plans. I looked into this and did some further research. 2 of the units were approved on, let me see, 2 of the units were approved. 15 and 17, 15 was approved on 10/6/05, 17 and 19. 17 was approved on 10/7, and 19 was approved on 10/6. They were professionally self-certified by the original applicant. And in those days, the drawings were perforated. They weren't perforated until the applicant went down to DLB. The drawings are all perforated 10/11/2005.
So you went through these numbers very quickly. So in your submission, just put all the information.
I will, yes, once again, I will do so. Once again, as a reminder, on the approvals, there was also a audit that was done on the 19th, 11/12/2019. So the entire set of drawings was reviewed for compliance with zoning. It's well after the date of the approval, but regardless, it was still reviewed.
And this is the entire approval of 3 units.
That's correct. And they were all dated 11/12/2019. You can clearly see that on the application's detail sheet, which has previously been provided. But I'll resubmit, and I will highlight that item that there was an additional audit done in 2019, separate from the one done for 11/27/07 compliance. That was done on 10/27/2005. So there were 2 separate audits, one for zoning and then one for compliance to meet the code change.
So the zoning was done when?
Zoning was done on 11/12/2019. That's on the application's detail sheet. You'll see that right under the DLB approval.
And the 2001 was done for when? For what?
2000. I'm sorry, just repeat
You
this.
said 2007, also another audit was done.
2000, what, it was, the audit was done on, that was for the 11/27/07 compliance, showing that the foundations and placement of work prior to the zoning change.
Okay, right.
That was a special audit. The other one was just the zoning audit.
Okay, so I think we got only one of them, or. And which one was the one that approved the entire 3 dwelling units? Was the zoning audit or was it the foundation audit?
So there were 3, the zoning audit that was done on 11/12/2019 was done separately on 15, 17, and 19. If you look at the biz application sheet, you'll see that that audit was accepted, 3 separate applications.
Okay.
All right. And then the same simultaneously happened for the special audit to comply with the 10/27/205 date. And that was done separately for each unit. And that sign off has been submitted to the commission.
That was for foundation.
That was for foundation verification, placement, yes. In response to Commissioner Brown's comments, our office will provide a much clearer Excel spreadsheet itemizing each invoice, the scope of work, the date that that work was performed, in order to clarify compliance with the 10/27/2005 date, and we will total up the costs for each one of those items. The problem, well, I don't want to use the problem. The issue that we have here is that the bank in which these checks were all paid for is no longer in existence. We contacted the bank who did the merger and purchase Victory Bank at, wait a minute, yes, I think it was Victory Bank. Northfield said they only keep records back 7 years. They're not keeping any records any further than that. The property owner is looking to see if they can find their checks from that time, but she said, Ron, the likelihood that I kept them from 2005 is unlikely. But we'll make that effort to try and give the backup checks indicating payment.
If you can't give the backup checks, you can go with the invoices. My comment really had to deal with the fact that it was all just thrown together. And that really relied on us on the board to sit there with a calculator, figure out whether or not these checks added up, what they added up to, whether or not, I mean, not checks, invoices, whether or not the invoices were duplicative of any charges. We couldn't fit, it was too difficult for us to spend the time to figure it out.
Brown, I realize the value of your time. I will make that clear. That was completely on me. And not being familiar with the process that you people need and the commissioners need to make hopefully a favorable decision for my client.
I don't know if it would help. If you do need a sample, please do reach out. Is this Ms. Matias, your case?
Yes,
You can reach out to Ms. Matias and we can provide you with a sample.
I will do so. Also, Commissioner Brown brought up the serious loss statement. We will also do the same. I was not familiar with Marshall and Swift. The delay in my client attempting to try and get checks to verify payments. We have a little more clarity on that, and that will be further submitted and clarified for you individually and then totals.
Well, you don't need the Marshall and Swift. When you're talking about the relative loss in value, it's much simpler than that. All you have to tell me, because it's a question of as of right, one home versus the 3 attached homes. Cite a source, could be a realty company, could be a set of listings that you're using, and give us just comparative sales. 3 attached homes would sell for, in this neighborhood, $500,000 a piece. One detached home that's larger than what this neighborhood usually has in it might only sell for $700,000. Therefore, there'll be a relative loss in value between the 3 attached homes and the 1 detached home. Serious loss. It's easy, but I just need you to cite your source just to complete the record.
And to add to that, obviously, the existing work that's there will have to be demoed, foundations assumed because they don't comply. So that would also factor in as a line item, correct?
Right, yes, that'll factor in as a line item, but it could be only based on what you actually put in or invested in the site as of the zoning change date.
Right.
So you don't have, based on what I looked at quickly, you don't have the $1.07 million in expenditures as of October 2005. You have $100,000 worth of expenditures at that time, because what you did was excavate and lay your foundations down. You didn't do the structure at that point. So
you're saying by the 07 date or what was in place?
05 date, the zoning
05 date.
date. So you're working off of that. And so your better argument is the loss in relative value.
Okay.
But you could add whatever your invoices are, being that you have to rip out those foundations, you could just add that to it, but that's not really going to make your case. Your case is that you are now limited in what you could actually build there. in a major way.
Claire. I believe were all the issues that were raised. If there are any other comments, I'll try to address them now.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Mr. Victorio? Okay, let's go to the public.
Okay, the case we're currently discussing, sorry, is 2022-28A through 2022-30A, 1517-19 Bedell Street, Staten Island. Should you wish to discuss, dial 646-558-8656. You will enter the Zoom webinar ID number as 827-5583-9838 and the pound sign. At the next prompt after that, you will press the pound sign only. Once you are in, press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute if you are calling in on the phone to be able to speak. And if you're in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your screen. Once you are recognized, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
How long will it take for you to make these corrections?
So, Madam Chair, my client is quite anxious to resolve this matter. I understand there's a heavy September calendar. If we can get on the October 1st calendar, the first hearing date, that would be very helpful to my client, because I will, assuming that the approval is granted, have to go back to DOB, update the approvals. She would like to start construction and get at least the enclosure of the building prior to the cold weather coming in. So I would ask to be on the first calendar dates in October. I think the 2nd and the 3rd.
Okay, yep. All right, we'll do that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all the comments from the commission.
No, we can't close because one of the critical elements of the finding.
Manifesting it,
Yeah,
so sorry, I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay.
sorry, we can't close, but if your response is really thorough and complete, we can close that day.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And just in case, if we can do it in September, will you be able to?
Let me see what Ms. Matias sends to me and how quickly I can turn it around. When would you have to, what's the closeout date for the September calendar?
Submission for September 18-19 is August 31st.
August 31st?
Yeah, I'll send you a sample spreadsheet, Ron.
Perfect. I'll make every effort to try and comply with that. Otherwise, we'll go to the backup date for October 2nd and 3rd.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anything else? This concludes.
you.
Oh, sorry. Thank you so much, Mr. Vittorio.
Thank
This
you.
concludes the public hearing for August 7th, 2023. Thank you for everyone for attending.
Have a good day and have a
Lynn
good
and
summer.
Alexei still in the meeting. Weird. Oh, that's sweet.
You're gonna take this off?
Oh, that's sweet for Travis.
I think you're still on.
But Steve, that was sweet too. Said he never met, but.